Hello everyone, this is the multiple speaking. I hope you've been enjoying my content so far since I started this channel in December 2024. A little bit about myself first. I am a hobbyist and cat lover with multiple interests, which is why I called this channel the Multipaw. So far I've put out a few videos on one of my current interests, watercolor painting. I started with sharing and sorting out my paints collection, updating my swatch cards, make a mixing chart, all that so that I can build my go-to palette. If you are interested in these topics, I will put a link to the playlist in the description below. If you like what you see, just give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. For this video, I want to share another method to knowing your paints, a color wheel. Not the pre-made color wheel that you can buy like this one, but one that you make yourself using your own paints, like this. I found this template on YouTube. It is made by Jackie Hernandez. She has a channel on YouTube. I will link her video on the description below, and you can follow that link to download this template yourself. Okay, her color wheel has 3 parts plus one additional one. I will explain a bit what she did. Okay, the first wheel is a warm triad, meaning you use your 3 warm colors here and mix it up. And then the next one is cool triad, which is for the cool colors. And then the third one, which really intrigues me, is the split primary color wheel. This is where you mix cool colors with warm colors all around. And then and this one is just mixing the same color with both the warm and cool temperature. So it does give an interesting result if you're doing this. Okay, let's get back to this. Okay, this is the split primary color wheel, where you will mix cool colors and warm colors for all 3. But when I was looking at it more, I noticed that from her original template, the warm yellow is still mixed with warm reds, which is kind of redundant since we are doing that already here, where warm yellow is going to be mixed with warm reds. So I think this should be switched. So I switched the 2, and then I thought some more, and I think what if we switch everything, all of this, so then you're gonna get more mixes. So I adjusted this color wheel, and and this is the result. So I shrink it a bit because I want to fit 2 color wheels on one page. And this is based on this one with the yellow switch, and then the next one is all are switched. So for example, in this one you'll be mixing cool yellow with warm reds. In the next wheel you'll be mixing warm yellows with cool reds, and it goes the same all around. So let's start using these templates. First of all, let's talk about the paper. The advice that most watercolorists would give is use the best quality paper, or the paper that you would normally use. So far, I don't know how to print straight onto 300 GSM watercolor paper unless you bring the file to a printer and pay them to print it for you. So in the meantime, you will just need to transfer the template manually. The few ways that I know of, I will share it with you right now. Here I have my watercolor paper, 300 GSM, thick paper. It won't go through my printer. And I will transfer the template here using the first method, which is scribbling graphite at the back and then trace it onto the paper. You will need regular pencil like this. So just scribble all over the template, especially where the lines are, because that's what you want to trace out. Use at least a 2B pencil to get a clearer tracing. This is just a H pencil, good enough for my eye, but certainly not good enough for filming. The back of the template has been filled and now ready to be transferred. I pulled out an MDF board because the surface I'm currently working on is soft like a mousepad. Working on a hard surface is ideal for tracing work. Tape the paper to avoid any shifting. So you got 3 tips there. Use dark pencil, work on a hard surface and tape the template. To trace the lines, I usually use a blunt item like this colorless blender. I don't want to leave any pen or pencil marks on the template in case I want to use it again. You just need to check the target paper once in a while to see if you missed anything. You can also use a pen that has run out of ink, or a blunt skewer, or a dotting tool. For the spokes, I just mark where the lines should be and draw the lines with a ruler afterwards because I don't want to worry about getting a straight line at this stage. Last step, draw the lines, and I also retrace the circle to make it clearer. If you use the dark pencil to scrap the back of the template, you won't need to do this. I only have carbon paper currently, but the mechanism is the same. Graphite paper is better because it's easier to erase. Place the carbon paper or ideally graphite paper on top of the target paper, which is the watercolor paper, then put down the template. Tape everything to reduce shifting. Now, same as before, follow all the lines or just mark where the lines should be and draw them later. Now I clean up the circles just a little bit. Then I label the sections and divide the center circle into 3 because I have an idea that I will share later in this video. For the mixed primary hue section, I use a circle template ruler. You can just draw a square if you want to. My preferred method for any tracing is using a light pad. With this method, you place the template first on the light pad and then the target paper. Tape everything or use a clip to secure everything. Then just trace the template using a pencil or a pen. If you don't have a light pad, you can use a window. I faced a few challenges with this method and I eventually gave up. But if you have an easily accessible window and you don't have any disruptors at your place, this is a good alternative to a light pad. But what if you don't have a light box, or your window doesn't have a flat surface that you can draw on, or your window is behind a barrier or something like that? What if you don't even have a printer to get the template out of the computer? So my solution is draw the wheel yourself. To do that, the only thing you need to do is to get out and get this one thing, the compass. That is, if you don't have it already. If you have kids at schooling age, you probably have this already. And then if you have this already, the rest are just your basic supplies: paper, pencil, eraser, ruler, and if you have a water resistant pen like the micron pen, I will show a shortcut on how to make a wheel with less erasing. For the cool and warm triad wheel, you need a circle with 12 segments. This is pretty easy to do. First, determine the size of the wheel. I basically divide the length of the paper by 4 to get the ideal radius of the circle. Make sure it will fit the area all around and mark where you will place the sharp point of the compass. That would be the center of the circle. Then just draw the circle. Draw a line through the center and you will divide the circle into two. Enlarge the compass just a little past the center and make a mark at the top section and at the bottom. Do the same from the other side. Draw a line through the marks and you have 4 segments now. Next, adjust the compass back to the length of the radius and make a mark on both sides of that point. Do this for all 4 cross sections. Here I added a smaller circle in the center. This is optional, but to me it would look cleaner with the circle in the middle. And I have the idea to add natural mixes there, which is a mix of all 3 colors together with varying degrees. Now you can draw a line connecting the opposite points, skipping the center. Obviously make a mistake there. Now erase the marks that you don't need and you will get a wheel with 12 segments. You can also use a pen to make the circles if you're worried you will accidentally over erase the circle. Just remember to swap up the pen with a pencil before you start making marks. You can also draw any straight lines with a pen straight away. Using a pen make the wheel more permanent and cleaning up much easier. Drawing a split primary color wheel is trickier because you need a circle with 15 segments, but if you work slowly and be as precise as you can, it can be done. The first few steps are the same. Mark your center, draw a big circle and a smaller circle inside it, and divide the circle into 4 segments. Work lightly this time because you will need to erase some of these marks later. I'm using a mechanical pencil with zero point 0.3 lead size so that I can be precise with the markings. Now you have a circle with 4 segments. Now measure the radius and make a mark at the top and bottom on one side of the circumference. Based on these 2 marks, mark the horizontal line. Then draw a line from that point to the cross section at the bottom. Measure this length here with the compass and make a mark on the slanted line that you just drew just now. Get the distance of this point to the bottom cross section and make a mark on the left and right side of that cross section. Measure the distance of these 2 points and mark the circumference all around. You are dividing the circumference into 5 parts now. This is the critical point. Make sure you eventually match the top cross section. Here I find that it doesn't match, so I need to go back and measure the points again. It usually starts where you make the slanted line. A hair's breadth can make a difference later on. Now I make some adjustment and luckily the second attempt brings me closer. Not exact but very close, and that's good enough for me. As you see here, my pencil touched the top cross section now. Same goes working from the other side. Next, measure the radius and mark the left and right side of the bottom cross section. Measure these 2 points with your compass and mark the circumference based on the 5 points you have earlier. Try to match those 5 points. If you go over, adjust your compass just a millimeter smaller and try again. Similarly, if you go a little under, adjust the compass just a tad bigger. Once you make sure that all the points match, you can erase any marks inside the circle except for the 12 o'clock line and the center mark. Now you can draw a line from the center to the marks around the circumference. And you will have a wheel with 15 segments. And as before, you can start drawing the circles using a pen. Then, once everything is fixed, you can draw the lines using a pen also, so that cleaning up will be easier. I hope the explanation that I'm giving is clear enough and you can understand them. If not, I will link a video of where I learned to make this wheel with 15 segments. It's a short video, like a little over 2 minutes, and maybe her explanation would be better. Check out the description section. I do recommend learning to draw these color wheels. I can't remember how many hours of browsing through the internet before I found a free template, but drawing, I think it's low tech. You only need one special tool, and it is a cheap one and easy to find. And you can modify the size of the wheel to fit on any paper. And I think it really saves time. Once you get the hang of it, it will take you like 10 minutes to make this tricky split primary wheel and just 5 minutes to make the cool and warm triad wheel. So do try drawing your own color wheel. Once you've made your four wheels, then there's nothing left to do but fill it up. Here I'm filling up the cool triad wheel. I chose lemon, permanent magenta, and cerulean blue hue from my go-to palette to study this time around. First, I just fill up the primary colors, and then I start to do the mixing. For the block next to yellow, you're supposed to put in a mix that is dominantly yellow. Technically, you're supposed to do 75% yellow and 25% red, but I wasn't really that precise in my mixing. I just mix enough to see the color has changed and just put that in. For the middle section, you put in the 50-50 mix. Then just fill up the rest of the wheel the same way. For the middle circle here, I decided to put in some neutral mixes. For the segment next to the lemon, it's gonna be a mix with dominant lemon. So the next one would be dominant cerulean blue hue, and the last one would be a dominant permanent magenta mix. So in this part, I wasn't really happy with the mix that I make. So I just dab that off with the towel and just fill it up again with a nicer mix. And now I'm filling up the warm triad. For my warm colors, I chose Indian yellow, ruby, and French ultramarine. Here I'm filling up the mix primary section of the color wheel. This is where I mix the cool version and the warm version of paints from my palette. And then I swatch a bit of the original colors on the side so that I can see the difference. Now I'm filling up the split primary color wheels. So that was the 4 methods of making a color wheel and also how I filled it up. Just a few things I want to add. If you want to position the primaries to be on the equilateral like this, you just need to start with a slanted horizontal line. You draw your first line slanted like that, then continue on as usual. If you start with a straight horizontal line, the main triangle will be skewed a bit like this. So if you start it straight, the primaries would be skewed. It's a small matter. But I personally prefer the primaries to be in this position. So okay, another thing is these are the different looks that you can get. This is a wheel with all pen lines all around. This is a wheel with just a circle in pen and the rest is in pencil, and I erased it. I personally like this type. I drew it all in pencil, and after I filled it up, I erased all the lines, so it looks kind of floating, and I do like this one. And for mixing the neutrals, just to make it clearer for what I did, for this segment, I start with a 50-50 mix of the red and blue, and then add more yellow to the mix, and I placed it next to the yellow part of the wheel. So the next one would be 50-50 red and yellow, and add more blue and fill it here. And so this one would be 50-50 yellow and blue, and then add more red, so you fill it in here. I also make some neutrals for the split primary color wheel. It's a bit complicated, but I just want to explain what I did. For this section, after I mix lemon and ruby 50-50, I add a blue into it. For this wedge, I add the cerulean blue, and then for this wedge, I add the French ultramarine. So for the next one, 50-50 Indian yellow and cerulean blue, then I add ruby for this one, and then permanent magenta for this one, and then mix 50-50 permanent magenta and French ultramarine, and then put in Indian yellow, put it here, add in lemon and put it here. This part is totally optional, but I personally want to learn how to mix browns and greys, so this part of the color wheel was very helpful to me. Okay, my last thought on this topic, I think making your own color wheel is much more valuable to learning about color theory, because it applies specifically to your paints. For example, I learned that mixing two bright colors doesn't mean you'll get a bright mix. Like mixing ruby and cerulean blue hue, two bright colors, but you will just end up getting brown because there's like a yellow tint on both of these colors. And also I get to learn how to mix tertiary colors, and that is interesting as well. So that's it for this video. I hope you find this useful. If it does, just give it a thumbs up. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. For my next video, I plan to review the cheap sketchbooks that I bought from Temu. As you can see, I've collected quite a few here, and I'm also considering doing a color along using watercolor or gouache. There are a lot of channels out there offering color alongs with colored pencils, so I want to do something different. If you want to see that, show your support by subscribing to the channel or leave a comment on what else you'd like to see. That would give me the motivation to create more interesting content. So come and see me in the next video. Bye.